How's everybody doing tonight? So I have to be quiet because my wife is sleeping and she works days, I work nights, so I gotta whisper. First things first, we're gonna be doing the GRAYGUNS short reset system for a safety model. Now, a little upset with GRAYGUNS because they don't include part nomenclature, they don't include directions. What they do include is their warranty, liability, and then they say have a gunsmith do it. So this kit is $100, and $100 gets you a recontoured, recoated control lever and a light firing pin block spring. And that's a roll pin for the firing pin block. Well, honestly, the whole firing pin assembly is based on this pin. You will not need a new pin if you do this right, and I'll show you how I do it, and hopefully it helps everybody out. First things first, we're going to get the kit. I'm going to strongly encourage everybody leaves the spring in the bag until you need it. This roll pin, same deal. First thing I'm going to do is set this aside and show you the punches I'm going to use. You only need 2 punches. I highly recommend going down to your local hardware store and getting this punch kit. It has a 1.5 millimeter and a 3 millimeter punch, which are the 2 we'll be using. So this is a P30L with the safety. First thing we're going to do is take the gun down, and I'm going to punch this pin and then take the hammer spring out. This is where the 3 millimeter comes in handy. So that'll push it most of the way out, and then you just pull it out and you're all set. This will slide the back strap off to reveal your hammer spring. This is the hammer strut and the hammer spring, and right here, the silver pin is what we're going to push out. So take the smaller of the punches, push that out, and this is under tension, so be very careful. This is an individual piece, and this has a lot of tension on it, so punch this pin out, be very careful to retain that, and then go from there. So I'm going to try to do that on camera. Take this pin, and what I like to do is associated parts go together. So this has a nice little area to keep parts in. Now this is immediately under pressure, as you can see by the orientation of the punch. So what you want to do is take your thumb, retain it, and let it come out. Do not point this at your face. That's how you lose eyes. And the spring. Done deal. Now the hammer strut's going to flop around. The important thing is when we get this gun back together that it's engaging the hammer. Okay? Which we'll get to in a minute. Alright, you're going to want to take the safety off now if you have a safety model, which this applies to, but it's the same takedown procedure for any of the P30Ls. If this kit is effective and does what it says it's going to do, then I'll be doing it on the other P30s, and I'll show you that when we get there. So this is a larger pin. So this next pin that we're going to be knocking out is the pretty much the whole Sear pack pin. So this axle pin here controls all of these 4 parts. Now there's 4 parts here. You have your Sear, which on this particular P30, it being a V3, is connected to the decocker. This piece here is connected to the piece we're extracting, which is the control lever. Okay? This is your disconnector. This is what resets the whole thing. As your slide comes back, it pushes down. So this is under vertical spring tension. These 2 are in here with pressure, and this is hugging the hammer. So this is here on tension as well. So this will stay put. This one might move around. These 2 pieces connect. So when you pull this out, this will come with it. Don't panic. they go together. I'll show you in a minute. Now I'm going to try to push the pin from this side to retain this, so we have as little pin movement as possible. The sear will drop but stay in place. This is kind of suspended with pressure. So the P30 series is a little more complicated than the USP series because normally there's a detent plate here, which is different. The detent is right here, so you don't have the same thing with the USP series. So we're going to push this pin across from right to left and see what we can retain. Okay, so I've inadvertently pushed just a little too hard and knocked the pin out, but luckily I have this in there holding everything. So I'm going to reinsert this pin just a little bit to hold on to the sear, and there we go. Okay, so that's about as far as you want to push the pin. Now all we're going to do is extract these two pieces here. Now again, the hammer is going to be free floating a little bit. Do not panic. That came out just fine. Took the disconnector out, and now I should have enough space to move the hammer a little bit to pull this out. Maybe. There we go. So you're going to want to rock it forward, and that'll remove it. So you're going to notice there's a lot of junk on here. This is all the dirt that you don't clean when the gun is apart. So two things that are going to happen. I'm going to clean this up, and get back to you here in a second. Alright, so having cleaned up the two parts, there's a lot of carbon and worn finish in there, so you really want to clean that stuff up when you can. Always take advantage of an opportunity to clean stuff and get things out of there. It will smooth out your shooting experience. The reason I have this here right now is to show you the differences between the two parts. So you'll see a little tiny notch cut right there, and this one has a very broad contour right there. So this one does not have this part of the leg as is designed. They've reprofiled it here. A little bit of a swoop on the I don't know what to call this part of the catch, but this has been recontoured here. You can see a little bit of a relief right there where this doesn't have it. Straight leg, which this is not. A little bump here, recontouring at the bottom, and so on. So that's missing from over here. So just to see what you're getting into, I would not recommend doing this by yourself. They've done this, they've done all the research, and I can't tell you how many parts they went through. So just because you can see how this is recontoured, I would not recontour that. It could drastically affect the function of your firearm. Highly recommend that you do not do that. As of this filming, this pistol has 3,300 rounds through it, and this is the wear that I'm seeing on the part. So got a little bit of wear on this side right here. Try to get it in the light and stay in focus. So got a little bit of wear on this side. So we'll see how that works. There's some wear marks here. This isn't oil or grease. That's actual wear marks, but overall the finish is holding up pretty well. Yeah, you can kind of see there. So a little bit of contact point there, some here, mostly on this end here. So that's what we're running into. And this is the back of the piece. This faces forward. So that's what's different. I always recommend putting a very, 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 very thin coat of oil on any piece that you install. Can't tell you how many times part's not been coated right, or it's not coated, it's just polished. This is coated, so you don't have to. It's kind of an OCD thing with me. So I'm just going to put a very, very light drop of oil on a paper towel. Part a little bit. It'll also help it with install. So I'm going to do that now. So process is one little drop, and then just move the part around on that drop, and it'll give a very, very thin, I mean super thin coat of oil, which you can kind of see there. Just makes it kind of like a mirror finish. And that's all you want to do. Don't go crazy, don't put oil directly on it, just a little bit. All right, time to put baby back together. Highly recommend while you're here. Something I do to get in here is I take a Q-tip and just run it around. You'll always pick stuff up. So again, if it's open, and you can, might as well clean it, right? Okay, so first things first, we're going to mate these parts back together. Now, you're going to go like that, and the eyelets are going to line up, okay? A little bit of patience, okay? So bear with yourself, don't get shaky hands, just get it back together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the disconnector back in first because it goes up against the wall, like so, and it'll help keep this part in there. Remember, we had to kind of rock it back in there to get it in. There we go, just like that. A little trick I learned working on USPs is to put this in first, fish it around slowly for alignment, which is really hard to do through a viewfinder, to be honest with you. We're aligned. This piece in the middle here, not a fun time. And once it's aligned, this pin will push right in with very, very basic pressure. And you'll be almost aligned. Just have to give it a love tap from the other side once you get in close. After getting that back flush, which I had to do off camera because it's just hard to push on it, you should not have to. It might take a little bit of persuasion, but this isn't like a mallet and excess force. I mean, I got it most of the way with my finger pressure, so go easy. All right, so important part here. If you're having any issues with your fitment of your grips, now is the best time to do it. So what we're going to do now is reinstall the hammer spring. And this part really sucks. So you have to align it with this hole here, not this hole. This is for the back strap. So you got to mate this on there. Lots of pressure. What I like to do is get it through one hole, take a break, and then push it through the other one. I'm going to do this off camera because it involves swear words. But just remember, this pin goes in there. It'll actually go in there super easy when you're reinstalling the hammer spring, so be very careful because you can over insert it. So what I would do is get it aligned, just get it in most of the way so it retains the piece, and then slowly push it in because you'll over insert it and put it through and you'll hate your life. Two here. I'm going to feed the pin from the other side and make sure to retain it. Now keep this under pressure because there's going to be a happy point where this pin's not in all the way and this is clear enough for it to fly. So just be careful. It'll mess your alignment up just a touch. So be super careful. And there we are, back together. So now is a perfect time to check the function. Just make sure the hammer has pressure and everything works. Don't let it contact the parts without it being fully assembled, obviously. Mostly what you're checking for is that movement right there and that it resets, which after you fire it, push that and it'll reset it. Alright, so we're going to get this guy back together. Just make sure you get it nice and well seated. You can feed the pin most of the way with finger pressure, and just give it a couple love pushes to make it flush, satisfy that OCD. Pressure, and there you go, nice and flush. So what I'm going to do first is put it back together so I can check the reset, and then I'll do the light firing pin block spring install for everybody, just to make sure we do the complete install of the kit as designed. Oh wow, that's really good. Okay, happy with that. All right, let's see if some of the weight's taken out with this light firing pin block spring. All right, this part's super easy. So what you want to do, I don't know if it's recommended by HK to do this. Quite frankly, I'm pretty sure this isn't recommended by HK for me to do anyway. But here we are. So this is the pin we're pushing out. This is for your extractor. This, I have no idea what it is, but this here, that pin is what we're going for. Now if you push it from this side, it'll come out the top just a little bit and all of the parts will come loose and you won't get this roll pin out of there. Now this is what I call a rolled pin, not a roll pin, because this was flat metal that they rolled together, whereas it's not a solid piece of metal. So that's why that you don't reuse these, but if they don't lose their shape and you don't push it out like an idiot, then you'll be okay. And I've reused roll pins many times with zero issues. So this is probably going to need some love taps. So I have to find a quiet way to do this. Yeah. So a few love taps have gotten it plenty loose for me to do what I need to do. Now, the important thing is you remember the orientation, because to take this out, you have to change how the key is. So let me do that. And be careful, because this will fly out at you if you don't have your thumb over it. Here's the firing pin. Firing pin spring is in there. That is the firing pin spring. Ooh, that's really hard to see. That is the firing pin spring. And this is not a light firing pin block spring. This is, so you can see the differences. Obviously the coils are thinner and lighter. So I'm going to put that back in. And again, we didn't knock that whole pin out. So all you gotta do is put the thing back together, hold it together, and push that pin back in. Now, despite my love of cleaning things while I have them apart, this, and this are wet cleaning things. So you may put a very, very thin coat of oil and then get it almost dry. So just be really cognizant of that. You don't want your firing pin channel wet at all, because it will accumulate caca real fast. So if you gotta clean it out, just get a Q-tip, and I'm honestly using these in a pinch because these are they leave a little more material behind, so you don't want to keep going in there with the same one. You go through these a lot faster than the Q-tips on a stick. So clean that up and should be fine. Don't get too fancy with it. Just clean it out, get all the debris out of there, and call it a day. How this works is this cup fits the spring like that, okay? It's a light firing pin block spring. Now I'm going to tell you right now, this is a lot softer and more fragile than this spring, okay? This kit will work perfectly fine with the stock spring. This is not a requirement. What this does is gets rid of the double action stacking, which we'll see. I mean, my double action's pretty smooth, so I'm going to hold on to this just in case. So we're going to set that over there, and we're going to get this thing back together. So firing pin, spring, firing pin in the rear is going to look like that. Easy for me because I have a lot of HKs, but the firing pin orientation is like this. Kind of see it there. So that's how you're going to put the firing pin back in. So it's one of those jobs where you wish you had 3 hands. So I'm going to insert this like so in its prescribed orientation. Going to do the rest of this off camera, but going to insert the spring, okay, and when you push the firing pin in, this will go in nice and easy. So remember the orientation that I showed you earlier? That's how it's going to go in there, okay? Little tip, so I'm 100% clear. You're gonna have to play with this a little bit by pulling it in and out to get that in. Okay, and then there's actually a point where it'll hold on its own, but you gotta keep pressure on this while you punch that pin back in. Okay, so you just gotta hold this together. I'm gonna take it off camera, give it a couple love taps, and go from there. On with this thing, but it's holding up just fine with this there. Okay. So finished product, you want to have this about a 32nd of an inch, approximately, below the slide, so it doesn't back out, and you want it clear, like completely clear, about equidistant as it is from the top, on the inside of the slide, so there's zero contact. Trust me, not a good day. And then you can maneuver this back to its proper alignment, which is right there. And now we are done. I'm going to reassemble it. Alright, so the pistol's back together. My wife is probably going to be upset, but I got to dry fire this a couple times just to test function. So we're going to do a nice double action pull. It felt the same, but whatever. Very nice short reset. Still have the initial take up. You're never going to get rid of that, but that is much better, a lot better, because you remember the reset point's pretty much all the way out, about right there. So we're about right here, which is good. Doesn't really take too much weight out of it, it just makes it smoother. So this does exactly as it said it would. The reset's a lot shorter, a lot nicer. I'm going to compare it again, probably going to get murdered, to an HK 45. It's close. It's very, very close. Very happy with this. So before I can recommend it, what I'm going to do is live fire at 500 rounds, and I'll tell you if there's any reliability issues. But so far, I am impressed with the reset reduction. The kit is very expensive. We'll see if it's worth $100, but I'm telling you, for $100 you don't get a lot. The kit could probably go a lot cheaper, but we'll see. Anyhow, more to follow. I'm gonna do the live fire before I talk about it anymore, and we'll see how it goes, but really straightforward install. Super easy. This video is going to be cut up, but the whole install took me a little less than 30 minutes. So that's with having to go across the room to get the other guns and stuff like that. So part 2 is coming soon. Thanks for watching. Take care of each other, stay safe, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.